Beyond the Gates spoilers tease that Madison Montgomery's intuition about Allison may be sharper than anyone gives her credit for, but unfortunately, intuition isn't always enough when the lies are carefully constructed and the emotions are real. When she first warns Chelsea Hamilton, her tone isn't hostile, just protective. Madison isn't threatened by Allison's presence, not at first. She knows Chelsea loves her. Their relationship, openly shared and accepted in their circle, has been solid through ups and downs. But Madison sees the signs that others dismiss. She sees how Allison flinches too late when startled. She sees how the blood trail on Allison's temple looks smeared, not split. She sees how Allison waits until Chelsea is watching before she starts to cry. At the hospital, Allison lies calmly on the exam table, her head bandaged, eyes wide and innocent. Chelsea sits beside her, holding her hand, whispering comfort. Madison stands in the corner, arms folded. The tension in the room hums like a live wire. Chelsea asks what happened. Allison says she slipped on the stairs. But the way she pauses before the answer, the way her eyes dart quickly to Madison and then back to Chelsea, triggers something deeper in Madison. Later, Madison confronts Allison alone. "You fell?" Madison asks, voice steady. "Yes." "You sure you didn't hit yourself?" Allison doesn't respond at first. Then she smirks. "You should be careful with those accusations. Especially with Chelsea around." The shift in tone is sharp and Madison takes note. There's something calculated in Allison's demeanor, a quiet performance. She's playing the victim, but not convincingly to Madison. When Chelsea returns, Allison winces theatrically, moaning about her head, begging softly for ice water. Chelsea rushes to her side. Madison watches, a growing knot forming in her gut. Over the next few days, the story begins to evolve. Chelsea returns home one night pale and shaken. She tells Madison that Allison confessed something new, that it wasn't a fall, but domestic violence. That Craig, Allison's estranged husband, had shown up drunk, angry, and violent. He'd slammed her into a doorframe. Madison's expression hardens. "She told you that now?" she asks. After claiming she slipped? And with no sign of Craig being anywhere near town lately. Chelsea is defensive. She was scared. "Maybe you'd understand if you weren't so jealous all the time." Madison's eyes narrow. This isn't jealousy. This is manipulation. But the moment passes with no resolution, and Allison moves in closer to Chelsea under the guise of protection. She insists on sleeping at Chelsea's place until Craig's out of the picture, and Chelsea agrees. Madison is livid, but she doesn't want to fight out yet. She knows Chelsea's heart, and she hopes it'll eventually see the truth. But Allison escalates. One morning, she tells Chelsea that she needs to talk alone. They sit on the porch. Allison's hands tremble as she tells her newest version. "It wasn't Craig. It was Madison. She came to my apartment, yelling. She thought I was trying to steal you. She hit me when I turned away. She said if I told anyone, she'd kill me." Chelsea freezes. "You're lying," she says, but weakly uncertain. Allison wipes away a tear. "I wanted to tell you the truth sooner, but I was scared. Madison scares me, Chelsea. She's not who you think she is." When Chelsea confronts Madison that night, the argument is explosive. Chelsea demands answers, her voice trembling with betrayal. "Did you hit her? Were you so desperate you'd hurt someone?" Madison is stunned. "Are you serious right now?" "She said you threatened her." "She said I what?" Chelsea backs away. "She said you told her you'd kill her if she said anything." Madison's voice shakes. "And you believe that?" "You've been jealous this whole time. You told me to watch out for her the moment she walked in the door. You've hated her since the beginning." "I saw through her since the beginning," Madison says, her voice cracking. But Chelsea's mind is made up. "Get out." Madison stands frozen. "You think I'm a monster?" "I think I don't know who you are anymore." The door slams. Back inside, Allison sips tea, bandage still wrapped around her head. She hears the footsteps, the yelling, the silence that follows. Then, when Chelsea walks back into the room, defeated, eyes full of tears, Allison gives a small, victorious smile. No one sees it, but it's there. Allison has done what she set out to do. She has isolated Chelsea. She has painted Madison as a threat. And now she moves in slowly, gently, the way a spider wraps its prey after the fight is over. She begins to cook dinner for Chelsea, offering small acts of care. She sits beside her on the couch and leans in closer. The dynamic shifts. There's no declaration, no romantic gesture. Just presence. Just control. Chelsea doesn't know what to believe anymore. She feels guilt, confusion, love, and grief all tangled into a single thread that Allison knows exactly how to pull. Madison, meanwhile, moves out quietly. She doesn't make a scene. She doesn't try to plead her case again. The betrayal has cut too deep. But deep inside, Madison knows something still isn't right. Weeks pass. Chelsea and Allison grow closer. But Chelsea is different. Distant. Unsure. She doesn't laugh as easily. Doesn't touch as often. She's haunted by something. She keeps replaying the last fight with Madison in her head, the way Madison looked hurt, not guilty. She starts to see the cracks in Allison's stories. The way Allison flinches at the wrong questions. The way her answers don't line up. One night, Chelsea sneaks into Allison's bag while she's showering. Inside, she finds a half-used roll of theatrical blood, stage makeup, a small bottle of expired prescription painkiller, none of it ever declared to the hospital. Her breath catches. And at the bottom, folded in a small envelope, a photo one taken long before the injury. Allison, smirking, holding a small note that reads, "Sometimes the best pain is pretend." Chelsea stares at it, hands shaking. The web begins to unravel. She calls Madison. It rings 4 times before Madison answers. "I need to see you," Chelsea says. "I was wrong." But whether forgiveness is possible, Chelsea isn't sure. Because Allison's game is only just beginning. Chelsea met Madison the next morning at a coffee shop just outside town. They sat across from each other in silence for almost a full minute. Neither of them touched their drinks. Madison's arms were crossed, her face unreadable. Chelsea looked exhausted, her eyes rimmed with the regret of sleepless nights and 100 unanswered questions. "I found something," Chelsea said, voice low. "In Allison's bag." Madison raised an eyebrow, but didn't speak. Fake blood. Makeup. Old pills. And a photo. Of her smiling. Holding a sign. It said, "Sometimes the best pain is pretend." Madison leaned forward. "Now you believe me?" Chelsea looked down. "I don't know what to believe. I thought I was helping her. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't want to be the person who didn't believe the girl who said she was hurt." "She manipulated you," Madison said flatly. "She's done it before." "I know." Chelsea pulled the photo from her purse, sliding it across the table. "But I think there's more to it. I think she wanted me to find this." Madison frowned. "Why would she?" "Because she's not finished." Back at Chelsea's house, Allison paced in the kitchen, the kettle hissing behind her. She'd seen the shift in Chelsea. The slight change in tone, the way Chelsea had avoided eye contact that morning. Something had broken. She could feel it. And Allison had learned long ago, when control begins to slip, you either grab tighter or you let it burn. She chose the former. When Chelsea came home, Allison met her at the door, already in tears. "I know you've been talking to Madison," she said. "I saw the call log." Chelsea said nothing. Allison's voice cracked. "She's turning you against me. After everything Craig did to Mefter, everything Madison did, now you're going to let them win." Chelsea stepped back. "Craig didn't hurt you. And neither did Madison." Allison's eyes went cold. "You don't know what you're talking about." Chelsea pulled out the photo. "I know enough. You lied. About everything." The silence that followed was eerie. Then Allison's tears stopped just like that. Her expression flattened. "I thought you were smarter than this," she said softly. "But you're just like everyone else. Weak. Always chasing the story that feels safest." Chelsea's voice shook. "You played me. You wanted to break me and Madison apart. I didn't want to, Allison replied. I had to. You don't understand what it's like seeing the only person who ever mattered looking at someone else like that. It wasn't yours to control. Allison smiled faintly. Everything is mine to control. That night, Chelsea packed Allison's things. Left them outside the door. Changed the locks. But something inside her stayed rattled. Because Allison hadn't begged to stay. She hadn't even cried. She had walked away calm, quiet, calculating. That wasn't closure. That was strategy. The next week, Chelsea began repairing the wreckage she'd left behind. She met Madison again. Apologized fully. No excuses. Just ownership. Madison listened, arms crossed again, but not with anger, with armor. I'm not going to lie, Madison said. It still hurts. I know. But I also know you're not the only one she manipulated. She got to all of us. They didn't kiss. They didn't hold hands. They just sat there for a long time, breathing the same air again. Not starting over. Just not ending. Meanwhile, Allison wasn't gone. She rented a short-term apartment 2 towns over under a different last name. She found a new therapist, one who didn't know her history. She cried on cue. Rehearsed every word. Told a new version of the story. I was the victim, she said. They gaslit me. They turned people against me. She even applied for a job at a women's shelter. Said she wanted to give back. When asked about the scar on her temple, she gently touched it and smiled. A reminder that healing isn't linear. But beneath the calm, she watched. She kept tabs on Chelsea's socials. Made burner accounts. Read every post. Watched every photo. When Chelsea and Madison finally appeared in a selfie together again, smiling, cautious, but standing side by side, Allison threw her phone across the room. The game wasn't over. It had only changed levels. She began drafting a blog post. Long, emotional. Full of veiled references. A woman betrayed by 2 lovers. A system that refused to believe her. A town that chose to forget. And at the end of the post, she included a teaser. I'm not afraid to name names. Soon, everyone will know the truth. The real truth. She scheduled it. Midnight. Friday. 3 days from now. But Friday never came. On Thursday, Chelsea received a call from the sheriff's department. Allison had been found unconscious in her apartment. Pills. A letter. The same scar touched again with fresh blood. They rushed her to the hospital. Madison stayed quiet in the waiting room, arms tight against her chest. Chelsea sat beside her, not speaking. When the doctor came out, he said the overdose wasn't lethal. Allison would survive. But the real twist came in the form of the letter. Addressed to both Chelsea and Madison. Inside, a simple message. You took everything. So I gave you something to remember me by. No apology. No confession. Just a warning. Because even when she was down, Allison was never finished. She was a story that refused to end. And somewhere inside her, she still believed the ending belonged to her. The following days passed in a blur. The hospital kept Allison for observation under psychiatric hold, monitoring her closely after the overdose. Chelsea visited once, unsure what she expected to feel. Guilt? Anger? Maybe both. But when she stood beside the bed and looked down at Allison, pale, restrained by soft fabric at the wrists, what she felt most was a kind of weary sadness. Not pity. Not forgiveness. Just the hollow ache of realizing that some people don't want to heal, they want control dressed up as pain. Madison didn't visit. She stayed home, cleaned the apartment they were slowly sharing again, and deleted every photo, every voicemail, every trace of Allison from her phone. Not out of spite, but to create space. For clarity. For survival. But neither of them could ignore the blog post Allison had scheduled. It went live at 12:01 a.m. Friday, just like she'd planned. It spread fast, shared by sympathy seekers, reposted in online forums that fed on emotional trauma. She painted herself as the victim of an emotional abuse triangle. Claimed she'd been gaslit, physically assaulted, erased from her own story. She never named names, but anyone who knew the players could connect the dots. Chelsea's phone didn't stop buzzing for 2 days. Supporters flooded her inbox, some kind, others venomous. Madison received death threats from strangers who only read half the story. People she'd never met called her unstable, dangerous, violent. An anonymous Reddit thread claimed she had a history of aggression in prior relationships, citing no sources. But what struck deepest was how believable the post sounded when removed from the facts. Allison had anticipated every counter. She laced her version with vulnerability, indirect confession, and just enough withheld detail to shield her from liability. No slander. Just damage. Madison suggested hiring a lawyer. Chelsea didn't argue. They drafted a quiet statement denying the allegations, reiterating their side without engaging directly. They didn't name Allison either. Their lawyer advised against it. But privately, Chelsea broke down. "She's still winning," she whispered one night. "Even when she loses, she twists it into a win." "She's not winning," Madison said. "She's spiraling. She's got the world listening. And they don't care what's true. They care what sounds tragic." Madison didn't respond. She knew Chelsea wasn't wrong. What neither of them expected came a week later. A call from Allison's therapist. It wasn't about the overdose or the blog. It was a request for a joint session. Allison had asked to speak to them together. At first, Chelsea refused. "Absolutely not. It's just another trap." But Madison surprised her. "I think we go," she said. "Not for her. For us." So they did. The session was held in a neutral office with high ceilings and wide windows. The therapist sat between them, professional but cautious. Allison entered last. No makeup. No smug smile. Just a girl who looked exhausted from trying to be so many things to so many people. "I asked for this because I wanted you to hear it from me directly," she said, voice soft. "What I did was wrong." Madison didn't speak. Chelsea's fingers curled into fists. "I lied," Allison continued. "I lied about the injury. About the threats. I manipulated you, Chelsea. I wanted you back, and I didn't care what I had to destroy to get it." She paused, eyes low. "I'm sorry." The room was still. Chelsea looked to Madison, who stared at Allison with a gaze that didn't soften. "You didn't just lie," Madison said. "You attacked my character. You tried to destroy my life. You made people believe I was a monster. Saying sorry doesn't fix that." "I know," Allison said. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed you to know I've started telling the truth. To my therapist. To myself. And to your followers?" Chelsea asked coldly. "I'm working on it." But that answer didn't satisfy. The session ended without a handshake, without a hug. Just silence. Still, it marked a shift. 2 weeks later, the blog post was updated. Allison added a paragraph. She didn't retract everything, but she corrected the implication. Said that her story blurred the line between truth and emotion, and that some of the things I believed were distorted by trauma and regret. Most people didn't notice. But some did. And it was enough. Chelsea and Madison moved forward not perfectly, but together. They kept their circle small. They rebuilt boundaries that had been shattered. They stayed offline more. They stopped needing to prove their love in public spaces. As for Allison, she disappeared from the digital world. Deleted her accounts. Checked out of the spotlight. Last anyone heard, she'd moved west to be closer to her sister. The therapist confirmed she'd entered long-term treatment. Voluntary. Some believed it was progress. Others saw it as strategy. But Chelsea stopped checking. One evening, 6 months later, Madison found a letter slipped under their door. No return address. The handwriting was unmistakably Allison's. Inside was a single sentence. "I hope you both stay free of me. I hope I learn how to stay free of myself." Madison read it once. Then she threw it into the fireplace. They didn't speak of it again. Because some endings don't deserve reflection. Some stories only stop when you stop listening.